Trey Hendrickson. And the news came out today that Trey Hendrickson is seeking a specialist, and it appears, well, he's going to be out for this week again. And while we go from one circus of in the organization, we go from one to another, from the Ringling Brothers to, I don't know, another circus brand name, but the Trey Hendrickson stuff, man, it was tiring in the off season. And I think I'm so exhausted from the regular season and what they do on the field that I don't even have the energy to go ballistic on Trey Hendrickson, though I want to. I really want to just like go on a 45-minute rant on how exhausted I am about this whole Trey Hendrickson thing, but I don't know if you had any thoughts on him going to go see a specialist. He's going to be out once again.
Well, I don't know that I really have any thoughts on him seeing a specialist. I mean, I certainly hope that he gets healthy and gets the medical attention that he needs. It's frustrating that we're 5 weeks into this and he's just now seeking a second opinion. That's certainly
Right.
frustration of all of this. But at the end of the day, Reed, like the truth of the matter is, and you hate to say it, but this is exactly the reason why the Bengals didn't want to give him a long-term, high-paying contract.
Correct.
And so, you look at this offseason when the Bengals reportedly offered him like a 3-year, 28 million per year deal. What's Trey Hendrickson worth on the free agent market now if the Bengals don't re-sign him this offseason or don't tag him? They're not going to tag him. They can't tag him. At
No.
this point, there's zero
No,
point
no,
in
no.
tagging him. So now he's gone through this season largely injured, missed more games than he's played. What's his free agent value? And it's the same conversation that both sides of the table had to have, right? Like Trey had to know he was taking a risk by not signing a long-term deal. The Bengals knew that, you know, there was a risk for him too, to, injury and aging and everything else. So at the end of the day, the Bengals are looking to be on the right side of this decision, at least at this point, signing him to a 1-year deal, paying him what he probably was deserved to pay to play this year. And at the end of the day, I mean, now you're looking at somebody who's likely to be an unrestricted free agent this upcoming offseason and can go out and try and find a team. But most likely, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's probably just going to have to go out and get a 1-year prove it deal. Like, I just don't know that anyone's going to come out and give a 31-year-old a 3 or 4 year deal valued at anywhere near where Trey Hendrickson thinks that he should be valued at.
I listen. This is where you're right. You're right, and I can't foresee. It would take a very hungry team with a lot of money to go. We'll give you guaranteed money. He'll probably have to, like, if he wants to do that, he's going to go to a bad team, which I don't even know if Trey Hendrickson cares about winning or losing. It would have to go to a bad team or a hungry team that just wants a guy that has formerly led the league in sacks not too long ago, and he's willing to take a multi-year deal. The Bengals, you said the Bengals are trying to be on the right side of this thing at the end, which is just giving him a pay raise. I look back at this Trey Hendrickson deal, and for the past 2 years, the Bengals have flubbed this whole thing. I think they were killing it at the beginning of this Trey Hendrickson relationship, where they bring him in. Everyone thought he was a Cam Jordan merchant. He proves that to be wrong. They extend him, and on such a good extension for the Bengals that he is consistently complaining about it. But all of the things happened this past offseason to where you go, okay, can you trade him? His stock's never been higher. What if we traded him? They didn't do that. They brought him on, and then they go, okay, well, we have you on this extension. We have you signed on the dotted line that you're willing to play this year, 2025, for the Cincinnati Bengals for $16 million, but you don't want to do it because you exceeded your pay. So what do? They fold, and they give him $14 million extra dollars. And what do we get from that? Pulling it up right now, Trey Hendrickson this season
Well,
has played 7 games and 4 sacks.
part of it though, Reed, is not necessarily the whole concept of I overperformed my contract and now I want it's the defensive end market shift dramatically over the last year or two. I mean, you look at some of the highest paid non-quarterbacks and they are DNs, and it's all contracts that have been signed in the last year or two. And so to Trey Hendrickson's like credit, 100% this past offseason when he's out there seeing Myles Garrett sign for $35 million and Max Crosby signed for $35 million and all these guys getting multi-year $30+ million contracts, he was underpaid. And that is true. But that was a market that was reset basically after his contract was signed before the 2024 season. And so he was in a position where, okay, well, at the time I was paid somewhat healthily, but things have drastically changed and the value of my position is clearly being valued differently now than it was before. But imagine putting Trey Hendrickson. Now, again, I don't know what he's going to be able to get or what he's going to be willing to take, but imagine putting Trey Hendrickson opposite one of those guys, a Max Crosby, a Myles Garrett, and Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. Like, imagine putting him on one of those teams and not being the primary, pass rusher again, similar to what you're talking about with his time in New Orleans. Like, I don't know. Is he willing to take a 3-year, $45 million deal to go do that and just dominate for 3 years? Or is he going to want to go and be that D end one where he's trying to make 25 to $35 million a year again? I just don't know what his expectations are going to be. And if it's going to be a 3-year, $15 million deal per year or whatever, like, is that something the Bengals are willing to risk it on to keep him around? I don't know that either. But it feels to me, and you can tell me if you disagree, feels to me like this relationship is just probably beyond repair anyway. Like, even if the Bengals wanted to keep him around and were willing to pay him, I think he would take a deal somewhere else at the same value just to not come back to this mess that is the Cincinnati Bengals front office.
Yeah, no, sometimes things just end. There is reason for both sides to continue on this. One reason being the Bengals will, because I think we are in agreement that he's probably not going to play for the rest of this year. That's beside the point.
He's done.
Yep. There is reason on both sides to continue this relationship. And one of them is the Bengals, quite honestly, don't have many options. They have drafted Myles Murphy and Shamar Stewart, and those guys don't even look to be anywhere near the caliber or look to be able to fill the role of a number one edge rusher. So they're going to have to either spend another high draft pick or they're going to have to spend some money on somebody. And if you're going to spend money, why not get the best guy that's going to be available, which would presumably be Trey Hendrickson. They're obviously have played together. He's been here before, so he's familiar with the team. He's familiar with the coach. And then for Trey, I think that the Bengals would be willing to at least give him a couple of years on a lesser extent. He's certainly not going to get $30 million or whatever it is. Like if you put three,
he's not going to get that anywhere though.
Yeah, you're right. If you said 315 was the number that you throw out there, I think that's something that the Bengals would do because they're lazy and he's been around. And while they're not willing to give people over the age of 30 long-term contracts, if they think they're getting a bargain, the cheapskates that they are, I think they do that. So if he's looking for security and familiarity, there's a reason to stick here in Cincinnati. But I think that you and I and everyone watching this understand that that's not the case. That there is too much here. There's too much fray here to think that this is going to continue on any further. We had Jay Morrison on the show on Off the Bench and Stone Shield show not too long ago, and he said point blank, yeah, it feels done. Because it does. It just feels like this is done. Even though there's mutual reason to come back, it's not going to happen. And it's going to be interesting to see the market that Trey beholds this offseason.
Yeah, the good news about it is that typically injured players are not as much of a distraction as non-professional players like Jermaine Burton. And so Trey Hendrickson is probably not around the locker room a whole lot, similar to what we heard about Joe Burrow during his toe injury rehab. He's spending most of his time with the trainers or with his own personal medical staff. And so he's probably not around. He's probably not in the media, obviously. The media is probably not asking a ton about Trey to the players, so they'll ask Zach each week, hey, what's Trey's status? And then that'll be the end of it. And, we won't think about him again until the next Monday. So,
well, Mike Hart put in the chat that according to Schefter, Trey is going to have surgery. So
great.
All right.
I mean, as he should. I mean, at this point in the season, there's no point in him coming back. The Bengals have the benefit of having a couple young guys that they want to see what they can do as the primary rushers in Miles Murphy and Joseph Osai and Cedric Johnson, all three of which have shown glimpses, but all three of which have also shown some periods of lapse.
Right.
Plus, you have Shamar Stewart that I don't know if we're going to see him again this year or not, but uh, at some point next year, you hope that you have him and he'll be able to contribute to the pass rush as well. So you've got four young guys that, in theory, you're hoping can become maybe not cornerstones, but solid pieces to your defense. And so, Trey, go get healthy, get your surgery, and then, we'll see what this offseason holds. But the good news is that it won't be an entire offseason distraction because they're not going to tag him, which means he's going to be a completely unrestricted free agent, and we won't have to hear about it every week.
According to admin, Trey Hendrickson is going to undergo core muscle surgery this week that is expected to sideline him approximately 6 weeks. For those of you doing math at home, he has missed approximately, Craig?
5 weeks.
5 weeks. So we could have used him. We could have used him if he would have got the surgery and seen someone from the get-go. They were presumably just hoping that it would heal naturally, but I don't know.
It's been interesting to reporting on this too, Reed, and we don't have to go into all of this, but it was a back injury, it was a hip injury, it was a sports hernia at one time. I legitimately still don't know what the injury is.
Well, it's core muscle surgery is what he's going to get. But it sounds,
which I think is the hernia, because I think you push it back in between the abdomen, right?
Right. I wasn't good at biology or physiology. I don't know.
Bluffton education didn't teach you about sports hernias.
Correct. I took one science class and it was inorganic chemistry. I got a 38% in the class, and I wrote in my final paper, we had a little book. I said, "Hey, I just need a D- in this to carry on. Will you give that to me?" And I got a D-, which ended up being a 39%. So I wasn't the smartest cookie. Wasn't the best student. Yeah, I don't know. It's just frustrating that that's the reason. That's the reason they were scared to give him an extension in the first place. Yep. and pay him the money that he had earned, or at least perceivably earned, over the past few years. So the Bengals were right in that regard for not giving it over the 30. It's a good rule. It's a good rule that they have lived by now for an extended period of time, and it's proven to be right more than it's wrong. You can look at guys that have blossomed elsewhere once they hit over that 30 age. You can look at a guy like Andrew Whitworth that had a Hall of Fame caliber career, obviously was the left tackle on the Rams team that beat us in the Super Bowl, was wrong there. You can look at even DJ Reader, who's had shown some really nice games for the Lions, but it's more right than it's wrong, living by that rule of not signing guys to extensions once they get over that hump of 30 plus. So, Craig, Jermaine Burton waived. Trey Hendrickson's going to miss the rest of the season due to core muscle surgery. That is all the news here on Chatterbox Bengals. We'll be back here tomorrow on Off the Bench. That'll be at 10 a.m. Thank you so much for hopping on and parking off to the side. Hopefully you didn't have any vagabonds come knock on your windows and ask to clean your windshields or anything like that. So thank you so much.
Memphis has a bad rap, man. Memphis is not nearly as bad as many people make it out to be.
That wasn't even a Memphis dig. That was just pull it off in a parking lot dig. I know not to go to stand on motels in Memphis, though. All right, I'll see you guys around tomorrow. Thank you so much, Craig. That does it for us here at Chatterbox Bengals. See you around.
Who dat?
Hang on 1 second.